My husband's dad bailed on our wedding the morning of. I want to send a letter. To give a little background. My husband had a strained relationship with his father, mid-late 50s, since I met him. His father was great at burning bridges and was ostracized from his family. He was in and out of jail for petty crimes and drug offenses, was definitely the type to bump cocaine with truck stop strippers back in the 80s. Honestly, I don't think this man has ever gone a day without being high despite quitting hard liquor and his more recent claims of his new sober life. His father could never play by the rules and was described as bipolar with anger issues and born evil by his own mother. Husband's father missed his high school graduation because of theft that landed him in prison. They only spoke intermittently until 2020 when we drove 7 hours to meet them and then started speaking more frequently. I always gave the guy the benefit of the doubt because I could sense my husband wanted a relationship with this man who claimed he changed after moving away and settling down with a seemingly nice lady. Plus, the rest of his family who stepped up to raise my husband constantly bad-mouthing his dad just didn't seem healthy. Anyways, his stepmom always projected anxiousness, unwillingness to commit to plans, made illogical impromptu decisions and was flaky. The first time they drove to see us, they let us know the day of they would be staying somewhere else 2 hours away. I spent hours cleaning the house and putting dinner together, but oh well. The next morning at around 10 a.m., she wanted us all to go to Gatlinburg, a 2.5-hour trip for us. I politely explained that it was too short notice to make that trip. Their next visit went a lot better and they met my parents. Everyone got along nicely except his dad told the same stories over and over about how great he is. All in all, it was fine though. After that they spent a lot of time ranting about husband's extended family and how they weren't good people. It was obvious that husband's father had spent a lot of time ranting to his wife about them and tainted her judgment. She asked me if the rest of the family would be invited and I held the position that there will be enough people for everyone to avoid each other if needed and act like adults. My parents are really excited to see you again. She seemed wary about that answer and uncertain about attending. We were afraid of them backing out. Fast forward 6 months and we never received their RSVP. Husband reached out to his dad and he assured him he would be there. A few weeks later husband invited them to the rehearsal and confirmed that the reception seat placement would be okay. I confirmed as well. A few days before, his father bailed on the rehearsal saying his wife said it's just for the bridal party. Flag number 1. We half-heartedly tried to convince his dad to come anyways but he declined. They came by our house that Wednesday, wedding on Friday. On their way to their hotel and stepmom asked about their seats, to which I echoed my earlier sentiments. It's just a place to eat, you'll hardly be near these people. Plus, husband's father said it was fine. If he hadn't, the plan was to seat them with my parents but it was too late to change the seating chart now. She seemed reluctant and inconvenienced. Flag number 2. They also chose a hotel in another city 30 minutes away. Flag number 3. Fast forward to 4 a.m. the day of the wedding. I woke up to use the bathroom and notice a message from husband's father. They were leaving because he felt like a black sheep and a pity invite. He went on to blame us for how he felt. I was livid and couldn't even be there to comfort my husband because he was still asleep and staying with his uncle at a different hotel. I sent back a response about how selfish that was and he chose to double down on us being the bad guy. My husband sent his response and blocked him. He thinks the wife was behind it all, but I think that may be in part because the alternative is too painful to believe. We tried to not let it ruin our day but it was hard. Our family photos were messed up because of it, our memories are slightly tainted, and it became a talking point. It's been 6 months since the wedding and no one has heard a word. My husband doesn't want to fix their relationship but wants closure. He's still grieving the loss of his father. He has no relationship with his mother and feels that he's effectively been orphaned. He's devastated still and is thinking about how his father may die and he'll never have closure. He doesn't want to contact him because he is afraid of letting out all of the anger, and I think he knows deep down that he'll never get an apology or an answer. I want to send a letter explaining how fucked up their actions were and to let them know how incredibly hurt my husband still is. My husband is non-confrontational, so he will suffer in silence until it is too late. In his words, he sent me letters from jail, he can do it now. I don't want him to know that pain in addition to what he already feels. I've got nothing to lose in sending this and I want the answers so he can begin to heal. I have no interest in a relationship with these people and we already decided that they will not know our children. Is this a terrible idea? Comment. The likely outcome is that the father and his wife will respond by blaming you and your husband. They won't take responsibility, they won't apologize, they won't learn any lessons. If that happens, will you still be glad you sent the letter? I don't know what the answer is, but I'd consider it and let that guide your decision making. He won't. Not a helpful one, anyway. Why do you think anything you write will turn out any different? If you need to vent, go ahead and vent, but don't think you'll be accomplishing anything productive sending it. Either dad already knows everything you have to say or doesn't care, but either way, he's not going to change. Any finality you get is not going to come from them at this point. You know who they are and how they will behave. The letter absolutely will not change them. It will not eat away at them. It will make them more defensive if anything. That's assuming they even get it and open it. Better to use your energy elsewhere. Focus on building your own amazing family. Drop this. And people don't have to give you what you want. His father is broken and does not work like a normal human. First, his own mother gave you the read on him. Was she possibly part of the problem? Maybe. But the years of substance abuse, incarceration, and the inability to deal with others also shows that he has a hard time navigating the world. He will only give you what he wants and/or can. There is no closure because they think they did nothing wrong. That first meeting should have shown you how this was going to go. Dad has to be the center of attention and the wife was not going to be comfortable with your husband's family. A wedding is a very bad time to mend broken relationships with broken people. Honestly, reading that line about born evil makes me believe his father was abused growing up in some way. Which completely adds up to the substance abuse issues. Now this of course isn't on op or op's wife especially to fix or even attempt to. I would recommend therapy for op's husband to deal with the trauma of these family dynamics personally because that's who we are responsible for, ourselves. You need to go to couples counseling then. Being married to someone who does not deal with his own emotions will create problems between both of you. I think you need to be more direct and tell him that if he acts this way when you two have conflicts, which you will have, he will avoid solving the problem or telling you when he has a problem. That will end up in resentment and divorce. I would worry more about how his personality will inevitably affect your marriage and relationship. And don't think it's going to be different. You are trying to get human emotions out of a narcissist. He isn't going to accept responsibility for anything and he will always have priority over everything else. He will always be one of two things. The hero or the martyr. I have been in this situation numerous times, including with my own father, and in my experience it does more harm than good. Even in circumstances where the person apologized and admitted their mistake, and in which I thought I would feel vindicated, it just rang hollow and didn't make me feel any better because it didn't undo the damage. He should just work through this in therapy. This probably contradicts at least most of the advice here, but something I have been told by many older people immediately following the loss of a loved one or someone once loved is to never let that shit go unsaid. Even if burying the hatchet means going no contact and never speaking again. I have had so many people my parents' age tell me they regret never confronting their own parents and to not make the same mistakes. Send a letter and assume you will never get a response. At least it won't have that hold over you then. Next story 2. My 29M wife, 32F, wants me to stay home all weekend while she works. My wife has a lot of stuff to do for work at home this week, on her own time. She has expressed her stress and that she needs help with childcare. I have offered to help but asked her specifically her time frame so that I could figure out the things that I need/want to do. The other day we were both off and she told me that she needed about 3 hours to accomplish everything, so I told her great, I'll watch the kids all morning. Later in the day, after 3 hours, she said she only did about 10% of the work. Then she proceeded to go out to run errands right up until we had to go to a family party that ate up the rest of the night. This morning she wants me to watch the kids and stay home the entire day. I told her that I had a sports game today, where I would be gone for 2 hours. I haven't been able to play all summer because we've been so busy, yet her response is, why would you start going now if you haven't gone all year? I then questioned her on her logic, and asked her if she is so strapped for time, why she is spending hours doing things around the house that she wants to do, like organizing family photos, and not doing her actual work. This is when she blew up on me and told me that she can't do her work if she doesn't do the other unrelated tasks first. Needless to say, I'm livid right now. I give up things for her all the time, and now when I want to do one thing, after having worked 60 hours this week, overnights, with no sleep and had to bury a dead friend and visit a dying relative, I can't. and now I have to go into work tonight at midnight and start the new week. What do I do now? Edit. Wow, didn't expect this much response, thanks. To clear a few things up, my work schedule changes, so there are weeks when I watch the kids the majority of the time, and weeks when we are about equal. We have babysitters for the days that she works and I have to sleep. I wake up early to help out during peak times, dinner/kids bedtimes, so she is only on her own for a few hours. I estimated my time with the kids at 40% because I work overtime often and I also do all the outdoor housework in which she watches the kids by herself. When I say she wanted me to watch the kids for 3 hours, that means watch them both for that period of time with zero help from her despite her being home. Outside of that we both work together watching them when we are both off and awake. Since having kids I do almost all the cooking and a majority of the indoor housework as well. I clean toilets, do laundry, etc. This is what men have to do when women have kids, and I have no issue with this to be honest. I am a very fast worker and I'm doing it for our family. I don't sleep well during my work week, but our kids sleep well and she gets 9 hours of sleep every night, as do I on my weekends. I enjoy watching my kids and if money wasn't an issue I would be a stay-at-home dad in a heartbeat. The issue I had was that I wanted to do one thing this week and didn't get to, despite there being plenty of time to, and it happened to be a very tough week for me mentally and I needed to do it. We did finally talk about what happened after things got even worse. She ended up taking a break during our one child's nap and I pointed out how I could have gone and already came back from my game during this time. She didn't like that. She deeply regrets not letting me go to the game, and we agreed this ultimately came down to not communicating properly. She needed to have a realistic plan to do her work and tell me about it, not string me along all weekend. I needed to recognize her stress throughout the week and be more direct when I need/want to do something. As a consolation I did get to cut the lawn later in the day. Comment. How old are your children? What kind of work hours does she have? What kind of housework and childcare do you usually do? Banking is closed on weekends. What happens is many financial planner, and other professional positions in a bank, can't keep up with the work and don't want to look bad in front of co-workers and boss, so instead of staying late they bring the work back home. I work for a bank and certain departments have weekend hours periodically. I'm an analyst for scheduling and call routing for our contact center and work a handful of weekends a year. It happens. Incorrect, I work in the industry and a lot of banks/credit unions are switching to weekend hours. For example, TD Bank is open 7 days a week. Bankers' hours are seen as 9 to 5, however the staff is usually there at least an hour before opening and at least 1 to 2 hours after closing, depending on needs and pending projects. My own supervisor goes home on the weekend and continues working, typical over 60 hours a week. Haha, no. Multiple kids under 2, highly doubt she gets any quality sleep. During this stage me and my wife took turns dealing with nighttime issues. Especially with 2 kids, some nights if one kid was having a bad night it would eventually wake the other one up. You're livid because you give up your time for her all the time, but you're failing to see that she is giving up her time for the children, which are, or should be, a shared responsibility. You need to ask yourself why you think her time should automatically be allocated to the kids and why you think yours shouldn't. You're both their parents. Try flipping the script and imagine what that's like. I think there's a deeper issue of how tasks are split that needs to be sorted before this though. As it currently stands, it sounds like if they got a babysitter he'd go off and play football and have fun and she'd spend her free time doing household chores and running errands.